Greetings to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Sheksa's YouTube channel. I'm Martin Masheka. I welcome you back to database management systems and warehouses. Please like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for you to access all the videos that I upload on this YouTube channel. This is a continuation of the previous exam paper that we are revising. So without wasting much of our time, let's get into the question paper. It says, okay, the question itself, it reads, what does the question read? Write SQL statements to compute the following. So we've completed these. We have answered these questions, and we've also answered all the questions that comes before question number 1E item 3. So here we want to compute the complaints that were resolved on the same day they were lodged. So that's what we want to compute. We want to compute the complaints that were resolved on the same day they were lodged, right? So what happens is, when you read the question like this, you have to relate the question to the case that we have. And the case that we have consists of these two useful tables with respect to this question. So how I read the question is complaints. I want to compute complaints that were resolved. So the moment I say complaints, I want to compute complaints. It means, where do I get the complaints from? From table complaints. Table complaints is the one that I'm going to that is going to give me the complaints. Therefore, my query starts with select. Whatever I want to select, I will select it from table complaints. Then the next thing is, I want to select the complaints that were resolved. And where do I get the complaints that were resolved? I get them from the table called table complaint resolve, meaning to say there is need for me to have these two tables joined together, but they are going to be joined through the use of a foreign key and a primary key. But for the meantime, let's suppose we'll get to the way in which we join these two. But the most important thing to note is we have resolved and want to join table complaints and table complaint resolve. And then the next thing is, these complaints must have same date, meaning to say the date that we have in table complaints must be the same date that we have in table complaint resolve. So we have that equal sign shown over there. So we are saying the complaint date should be equal to date resolved. Complaint date must be equal to date resolved, right? And coming back to our join, we can say we are joining table complaints with, or we are joining table complaints to table complaint resolve on what condition? On what condition? On what condition? The condition that we are using to join these two tables is where complaint ID is equal to complaint ID. So table complaints complaint ID must be equal to complaint ID of table complaint resolve. So that's the join condition, and the complaint date is what is required by the client who is asking us to compute complaints that were resolved on the same day they were lodged. All right, so the next step is, let's just open our web page. I have it on my taskbar there. Right, let me open my web page and put the password. Continue anyway. Right, all these queries we have written them before, we've worked on these things, so we are just continue. It's just a continuation. So we have the database here, and it's having a lot of records and tables in the tables. So what we want to do is we want to execute this. We want to execute complaints. We said we want to select complaints. We want to select from complaints, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to write a select statement that we write in the SQL editor workbench. Let me zoom so that you guys can see what I have here. All right. So, all right, select. Okay. So what is it that I want to select? Let me just say select all columns from. Right. So I'm selecting from where? I select from table complaints. Is this the correct name for our table? Is it table complaints? Yes. Good. So select all from table complaints. Say enter. So right, let me just say all from that. Then inner join. Inner join table complaint resolve table complaint resolve. Right, let me just terminate here. No, let me just say put the condition on table complaints dot complaint ID is equal to table complaints resolve dot complaint ID. Right, so let me just let me just move this and then scroll there. Right, so that's what we have. Let me just run this. Let me run this only and see the results. Select all from this image, right? No database selected. Okay, it's because you are not supposed to do this because you are continuing. But if you have stopped your database, then you need to say use bbcrm, and then you execute this single statement. So for me, that's why it's not running, and then try to run it. And in this case, we can see that these are the complaints. So you can see from the question is saying compute complaints that were resolved. So the first part of having complaints that were resolved, we have them: complaint ID, complaint date, customer ID, complaint details, complaint resolve ID, user ID, date resolved, complaint ID. So you see complaint ID is just identical to that, this identical to that. Right, so what we have now is, you can observe that complaint ID is repeated, right? Therefore, we don't need to have it repeated. So on our select there, we can just say I want table, I want complaint ID, table I can take it from any of those two tables. Table complaints dot complaint ID. We've observed that it's just the same whether we take it from table complaints or we take it from table complaint resolve. It's just the same. So that's the column we want. Also want complaint date. You can see that the complaint dates, we want to have the records that have the same date on complaint date and on date resolved. So we want to have this one only, but because we have few records, that's why we can actually see and observe that this is the only record we have. But if we have millions or thousands of records or even hundreds, you can't even identify all of them manually. So you have to write a query. That's why we are writing one here. And then what we need to do now is we need to put the complaint dates to or let me just do this. Let me press enter so that all the statements that are right are going to be visible to you. Why is it giving me an error here? From is not valid. Or it's because I have a comma. So we just put another column here. Table complaints. I want complaint. Right, and then I say enter complaint date, and then I want date resolved from table complaint resolve. So I say table complaint resolve dot date resolved. Right, so I need to have a comma there. Right. Now with this you should be able to see only few columns. Right, if I do this you can see that I think I need to also to have the column the complaint details. So I can say table complaints dot what's the name of the column? Let's click complaint details. Complaint details. Right, let me extract this one a bit. Right, something like this. If I have this, I will have complaint details. Yes, expired rate. Wait, let me have another column, I think, which is coming from table complaint resolve. Table complaint resolve, and the way in which the complaint was resolved details. So let me go resolve details, resolve details. So now I should be able to see. Right, right, so this is it. I should be able to see this. So you see the query is giving me only those complaints that were resolved, right? Which is part of the question, but not yet complete. Complaints that were resolved, good. But were they resolved on the same date they were lodged? This was resolved on the 31st of January, which is the same date in which the complaint was lodged. This one was resolved on the 25th of February, of which it was lodged on the 10th of February. Therefore, this one we don't want it. So how are we going to eliminate that? So we now put a condition. We put a condition. We just put the condition. We say where table complaints resolved dot date resolved, is equal to table complaints dot complaint date. In this case, we should be able to, all right, where, okay, there. I want us to have access to everything that I'm writing here. Let me check this code. Let me just move this down here and put here, right, and then have it that way. So you can see the whole query now. It's saying select. Now we've added a condition which says table complaints date resolved should be equal to complaint date. So we can run the whole query now. It should give us only this record, which is having complaint date that is equal to date resolved. Then we run it. It gives us that. Naka. This is sweet. Right. So we have managed to answer this question. Yeah, and those are the marks that we have harvested. Now let's move to the next part. So this is the query. I hope it's the same as the one that I wrote in the SQL editor. Yeah, table complaints and stuff. So if you want to copy it, you can copy it from this side, or you can copy it from the SQL query editor, which is MySQL workbench, the one that I'm using, which is here. So this is the complete query. This is the complete query. You can select that until we get where we are. All right. Let's get to the next question, which talks about whoa, 8 marks, 9, 10, 11 marks. Wow, this is nice. As a professional, I'm reading the question now. As a professional database administrator, you would want to create non-save points as you transact in case of a system crash as one of the key implementations to ensure that the database is taken from one consistent state to the next consistent state. Using your expertise, implement the following TCL, transaction control language. TCL, transactional control language. Okay, we are talking about transactions. I think we will need to delve deeper about transactions before we even answer the question. Let me read the question. Item 1 says, while adding the following customer data in the customer complaint log, create the 2 save points A and B. Meaning to say, when I'm entering the customer data for Martin, after that I create a save point. Then I do the same. I create a complaint log, and then I create a save point. That's what is required by these first 8 marks. So, okay, let's assume item 2. Assuming that while attempting to execute the query statements above, the electricity supply system blacks out. Write an SQL statement to reverse the transaction to save point A. Okay. All right. But anyway, why do we need transactions, or what are transactions? That's the first question that we need to ask ourselves, because the main reason why I'm doing these revisions, it's not about giving you exactly the answers to the question, but to discuss about the topics asked within the question, within the exam. So suppose, let's say you are buying some laptops. I personally sell computers to people, especially data analytics students. If you want a high performing machine, just get in touch with me. You can get one. But for this lesson, I'm just using this as an example. Suppose you are buying Texas laptops through an online store and there are only 3 laptops left. while 5 customers add at least one laptop to their cart and proceed to check out at the same time. In such a case, the remaining inventory needs to be calculated accurately, neither over-calculated nor under-calculated. In such cases, that's when we can say we need transaction management. We need transaction management. Let me give you another example. Let's assume that you are doing a certain transaction, adding data to your table, while someone else is deleting, or maybe the other person is subtracting to a certain column. Your data must remain consistent. So what we do, what really happens, your transactions are bundled into one, or they are combined and treated as one item or one transaction. So what do? We start a transaction. Then when we say start, everything that we do within just after start is considered to be one transaction. And then we end the transaction. Once every instruction inside the transaction is executed successfully, we can say our database remains in a consistent state. So we have to start and then end. Everything that we run in between is part of the transaction. So is part of the transaction. So let's say we have our database. So a database, it must be in a consistent state, right? As it is in a consistent state, we begin a transaction while the database is in a consistent state. We begin a transaction while a database is in a consistent state. Then what goes next? We have several instructions that we're going to run. Execution of this transaction, we are now having some tasks, like we have observed from the question which told us to create save points. So in that case, the execution of the transaction involves the execution of those save points. Now the execution of the transaction goes, and then we have the database in a temporarily inconsistent state. So the moment we are doing some executions of our transactions, we may come to a state where we say the balance that we are receiving is not the same balance that is in our database. So that's an inconsistent state. But it's within the transaction that is not yet committed or that is not yet complete, right? So you're not supposed to have access to inconsistent data of an inconsistent database. So you're not allowed to access for as long as the database is in an inconsistent state. But the moment we finish the execution, we expect that the database must be in a consistent state by the end of the transaction. So by the end of the transaction, our database must be in a consistent state. So that's how we run a transaction. That's why we need a transaction. Then we can even talk about the acid properties of the database. But for the reason of you understanding transactions, I hope this helped you. But now let's get to answer the question. While adding the following customer data and the customer complaint log, create the two save points. Meaning to say, we start our transaction. It depends with the database platform system that you're using. Some they say start, some they say begin. The first statement is you start your transaction. Then every query that you want to execute, you write it. So now we insert this record. And after inserting this record, or after writing the query that inserts this record, we then we create a save point here. Then we go to the next transaction, we insert this record, and we create a save point B. By this, we are done answering question number. What is this question? Number 1 item. Number 1E item. Oh, number 1E. Number 1F rather. F item 1, we are done. But we haven't executed the queries now. So what do you want to do? I will take this as my answer sheet. So we say start transaction, and in SQL we say begin. We say begin. We say start. Let me say start. It's here. Start transaction. Right. I can run this, or I can even wait and then execute the insert. So what I'm inserting are these records. It's customer data, so I'm inserting into what table? Table customer. I hope that's correct. So I'm going to insert into table customers, and then insert into table customers. I have a save also the table customers, yes. And which columns do I want to insert and which values do I want to insert? Right, I have only one record to insert, so let me go there and copy the records. This is the records. So I'm doing this so that my video won't last longer than I wish. Right, so this is just 4. And this is, oh no, the values are given in here, right? And this is like that. So that's the customer records, but I want to insert these columns: customer ID, which is that, and first name, and then surname, and then email. National ID is not, oh, it's there, and then national ID. Right, so these are the values that I want to insert. Then after doing this, let me check my, this is the record insertion. I've inserted the record. Now I want to create the save point. The save point is what I want to create now. So to create the save point, I will just say let me do this so you can see. Right, this is the query to insert. Now I can create the save point. So let me skip a line here so you can see clearly. Now I can create a save point here. Save point A, and then do the insertion for the second, which is complaint log. So this is the complaint. So what I'm going to do is I will come and say insert into into which table, by the way? Complaints. It's table complaints, right? Table complaints. The values. And then I think this one I can put it there. Complaints. So the columns that I want to populate, I want to populate ID, I want to populate complaint date, I want to populate customer ID, I want to populate complaint details. Right, and then the values I can get them from here. And then this is it. This is here. Right, this is and here I say that, and then that, and here I say that. This is a number, and this is that. After this, I create a save point B. Is that correct? Create save point B. Now I come here and say save point B. Terminate. So we are done answering this part of the question. Part 1, we have created two save points A and B through this method. Create save point B. Right. Now that we have created these points, I can execute these. So I can execute, let me do that, and let me close these results. So you can see I have started from there up to there. But let me check. Right here. After creating save point, I can then end transaction with commit. Right? I can then say commit. So let me go back and say commit. And then here I can say commit. Right, so this is it. Now if I run this, or let me just run from here. If I run that, it's going to run and give me this result. Column count doesn't match value count at row 1. Okay, which one? Let me check. Table customers, ID, first name, surname, email. Okay, here. I'm supposed to put a comma there. Right, and then start to run it again. Up to here, and then run it. Duplicate entry for 4, for which table customers prime. Alright, that was because I have executed that before. When I got an error, start transaction was executed. Okay, ID number 4 is already in existence because I added Martin before. So I can now say 5 here. I can just say 5 there. And then run this again. I can run this again up to that, and then run it. Right, duplicate entry 5. I think I've executed it. Let me just check the records by running select query. Let me run select from table customers. Let me run this. Right, you can see that we have Martin with customer ID 5. It was inserted successfully. Let's check the complaint as well. Table complaints. Let's check if we have inserted the complaints. Where is it? Expired bonds. We have it. You see the one? Expired bonds, yes. So expired bonds, we have it, right? Meaning to say we've successfully executed these two SQL statements. This insertion and this insertion, which is okay. Now the next part is asking us to say, the next part is saying, assuming that, which is here at the bottom here, assuming that while attempting to execute the query statements above, the electricity supply system blacks out. Write an SQL statement to reverse the transaction to save point A. We want to reverse it to save point A. So it's more like we want to roll back. So what do? We then put this rollback statement at just before commit, right? Rollback to save point A. That's what we are supposed to put here. Wait. Here. Let me close these results, right? And then put my rollback just before here. Well, let me just do this so you can see all the commands. Right here, that's where I can say roll back to save point A. Then if I run this now, it means this insertion is reversed. It's going to be reversed. Let me run this and then say run. Rollback save point A does not exist. All right. Let me run this start transaction. Then this one was run this. Let me just put 6 here. 6. Run that. Create this is email. What happened here? So here we, all right, let me do this. All right, so here we say start transaction. After starting transaction, let's start transaction, and then insert here. Run this, and then let's check if we have managed to insert. Select from table customers. We're trying to run one by one, and if we run this, we should check. We now have Martin with ID 5. We didn't want to use 4 because 4 is already in use by another customer. And then we run this to create a save point. Right, a save point is created, and then we run this. Let's run. Right, it's run, it's executed, and then you can see here we have save point A created. We have inserted that, we have selected, and then save point A has been created. We've inserted into table complaints, and then we're going to create a save point B, which is this, and then we run that. Save point B created successfully. Then select to check if we have inserted into table complaints successfully. You can see here we have them. Now we can roll back to table to save point A, meaning to say we have a record that we've added, which is expired bonds, right? We are going to reverse this insertion by rolling back to save point A. So if we roll back, it means we are now reversing this point, this insertion. So let's run the rollback. Rollback to save point A is done. So let's select again and check if we still have that record. The expired ones is rolled back, so it's no longer saved. So maybe from there, that's when we can say commit. When we commit, it means what we have done is completed as a transaction, and our database remains in a consistent state. So that's it for this question, and I think this marks the end of this series, because this is the last part of practical questions. Right, so that's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of this journey of revising one past exam paper. So I thank you as Engineer Sheikh Martin. I applaud you for completing this series. I'm happy. If you want laptops, if you want computers, get in touch with me. My number is shared in the comment section. If you want computers, you can buy computers from Engineer Sheikh Martin. The most reliable computers, the most performing computers, the cheapest, most performing computers from Sheikh. So thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and give a comment. Goodbye for now. May God bless you. I wish you the best in everything that you do in your life. Goodbye.